They would be bailed out by the government. Can you think of maybe two firms? So not only is this bill not doing anything to stop Fannie and Freddie, as they continue to lose hundreds of billions of dollars of your money, this bill is actually going to create the protected class of Fannie and Freddie and make more. Here's where it gets really good, though. It provides for seizure of private property without meaningful judicial review. How does this happen? Well, the trusted Secretary of the Treasury can order the seizure of any financial firm that he finds in danger of default that would hurt the country's economy. Again, a bureaucrat arbitrarily getting to make that distinction. This bill also creates a new Bureau of Consumer Financial Protection. Just to protect you, protect consumers. This bureau will have broad powers to limit what financial products and services can be offered to consumers. That's weird. As I say that, I think of Anthony Weiner. You remember the Congressman Anthony Weiner trying to protect consumers from Goldline? Yeah. Wow. Go to wienerfacts.com for more on that. So, it's supposed to help you. But here's what it will do. Reduce choices and likely make credit more expensive and harder to get. It also allows them, you're going to love this, to track consumer transactions. So now they can just track your credit card, baby. Isn't that great? You can, but only to protect you. Non-financial firms will be subject to financial regulations. Listen again. Listen again how broad this section is. It's section 102, and it defines a non-bank financial company as a company substantially engaged in activities in the United States that are financial in nature. Tell me the companies that aren't financial in nature. Bakery? Sure, they're making cupcakes and bread, but in the end, isn't that financial in nature, Your Honor? They're making sure this bill is jammed down America's throat and finished. This is the date that they've set for themselves. They're going to vote on it tomorrow. There are dates in this country that will live in infamy. Black Tuesday, October 29th, 1929. Pearl Harbor, December 7th, 1941. September 11th, 2001. And now I believe you can add July 21st, 2010 to this list. This will be the day that will be remembered as the day that the final nail in the Republic was pounded into the coffin. President Obama signed the financial reform bill today.
I'm Ben Stein. The whole problem with financial activities is fraud, and we already had lots of laws on the books about fraud. If we could just enforce the laws that are already on the books, we wouldn't need this whole giant Rube Goldberg contraption of new regulations and new agencies. So what do we need it for? Just to employ more of his friends in the Service Employees International Union, I guess.
Democrats are still patting themselves on the back for passing that bill, a measure that's going to destroy jobs and destroy our economy even further. 2,300 pages in that legislation. And the Congressional Research Office recently reported that it will create so many boards and offices and new organizations in the government, it is, quote, impossible to determine from reading the bill just how many of these will be created. How can we have a law when the people charged with enforcing it can't even understand it? All right, up next, the economic impact from the government's horrific takeover of General Motors. Back now with our special crash course on the fundamental transformation of our economy. Next item on the list, the economic fallout from the federal takeover of General Motors.
Great news, America. GM is completely fixed. I want you to check this out from the CEO, Ed Whitaker, from General Motors.
I'm here to announce we have repaid our government loan in full with interest, 5 years ahead of the original schedule.
Okay. I don't know where he's walking to, but listen, Ed, I'm Glenn, and why are you saying that? I mean, I'm thinking that if you want to be a company that all Americans can be proud of, maybe you shouldn't just, what do they used to call it, lie to our faces. No, now it's spin. I'm sorry. I'm kind of picky that way. However, if paid in full with interest, you really mean we still owe $43 billion, well, then there's no spin there. That's what you hold, America, in stock and equity in General Motors, $43 billion. Oh, plus the estimated minimum $12 billion in union pensions. Yeah. GM, for some reason, is being allowed to say that they have paid back $6.7 billion. So they've paid it back. Yeah. That may be confusing, given the fact that GM lost $4.3 billion during the second half of 2009. Now, I don't know how you pay back gigantic loans when you're losing money hand over fist. But somebody does. TARP Special Inspector General Neil Borofsky. He's shedding light on Ed's fuzzy math. Here it is.
If there's any money left in that account after a certain period of time, it has to be used to repay the debt. And basically what GM is doing is it's pulling that forward, and it's taking the money out of this TARP capital facility and using it to pay off the debt.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right, so here's how it works. Here's GM, and look it, they had very little money, so they couldn't pay. They had no money. There's no money in government loans. We hadn't invented TARP yet. The money was where it belongs, with you. And so what happened? Well, GM was going out, so we took a bunch of our... They took a bunch of our money, and they put it over here. And they're about as non-messy with it as I am. So they keep taking your money and put it here. Then when we had to finish bailing out the financial industry, which basically just did this, they just, what? I'm with Goldman Sachs. What's the problem? No, I don't. What are you talking about? I'm not doing anything wrong with it. So when they were finished stuffing their own pockets, then they said, we've got to help GM because they're too big to fail and they're union, So they took this money, along with a little bit more of yours, and put it in here in a government loan bucket. Then they took that money and gave it to GM. Well, GM needed to pay that money back. So here's what they did. They took this money back 5 years early, That's how they paid you back. That's it. You feeling paid back? No, you didn't get the money. They're taking it and moving it from bucket to bucket. That's all they're doing.
I'm Ben Stein. What's going to happen with GM is the government will lend still more money to GM to pay off the first borrowings from GM, and then when that's exhausted, they'll lend still more money to GM. It's fine with me. I have GM cars. I love GM cars. I want them to stay in business forever. But whether the government will actually get paid back, very much a dicey question. But I like GM to be in business. I want to get spare parts for my Cadillac.
Thanks, Ben. You all know Ben Stein, right? Next, the plan that Glenn thinks the government should adopt to help get us out of the big black hole. Hello, America. If you just tuned in, we're all taking a back-to-school cram session on the U.S. economy. The White House has a budget plan, and it's obviously not working. So Glenn Beck unveiled his own plan, along with the Cato Institute, to help get us out of debt.
This week, got to roll up your sleeves because we're going to do some work. We're going to show you how to slash the budget. It's time to introduce you to the plan. Come on, let's go. Have you ever wondered why we have Social Security? I mean, this isn't an American idea. It first came from Germany in the late 1800s. Let's see. Who else was prominent in Germany at that time? There was Karl Marx. I remember him. There was Nietzsche. This is where this progressive idea came from. And when those ideas floated across the Atlantic, they took America off course. The first half of this century and half of the American existence, there was no entitlement. Zero. None. Our American founders didn't want them. How did Americans survive all those years without government assistance? Oh, I just don't know. What did those poor people do? They didn't have to work, did they? Yes, they did. But they also had the poor among them. They took care of the poor themselves through their churches. They took care of their families. It wasn't until 1929 and Herbert Hoover we finally got our own entitlement program. It was the creation of the Federal Farm Board, which subsidized agriculture cooperatives. But Hoover was a rookie. When it came to social programs, he was nothing. We have FDR now. He had launched his New Deal assault on the Constitution. He signed into law the Social Security Act of 1934. Here's the actual video. This is him signing it into law. Doesn't he look happy?
This Social Security measure gives at least some protection to 30 million of our citizens.
Stop. 30 million citizens, some protections, but is giving our children nothing. The progressive wave of European social insurance infected America. And this is the result of it, right here. This is it. This is European thinking. This is not America. Entitlements are causing us to go broke. If you look here, this is a share of total spending. If you look at this, here we have defense 20%, Social Security 19%, Medicaid 8, or Medicare 13, Medicaid 8. This is unsustainable. In less than 6 years, the federal government will be paying out more in Social Security benefits than the taxes that it takes in to fund it. Our Social Security Administration is getting $788 billion in fiscal year 2011. That breaks out to $6,500 per U.S. household. Do you write a check for that? Can you write a check for that? Because that's what we're doing.
We have to move to a system of private Social Security accounts like 24 other countries around the world have. That will give individuals control over their own retirement future.
Here's the problem. With all these systems, whether you're looking at Social Security, whether you're looking at electoral politics, healthcare, education, we inherit these systems, right, that have evolved over years and years. And we like to think that they evolved rationally.
They didn't.
They're totally chaotic. The problem is, then we try to solve the problems rationally by untangling them, and we can't.
So how would you take on Medicare?
Well, Medicare, the costs are exploding. It's the single biggest financial threat to our nation's future. There's no doubt about it. Why are the costs exploding? Because tens of millions of elderly, they go to doctors and hospitals. They get essentially free service, so they demand more and more. The solution is you go to an individually based consumer system. Someone hits the age of 65, you give them a federal $11,000 voucher. They can go and buy health insurance in the private market if they want. That will help them. That will encourage them to be good consumers, like they're good consumers when they go buy a new car or any other product.
I'm Ben Stein. I would fix Social Security by not paying Social Security to people who are rich, and I would fix Medicare by not paying Medicare who are rich, but it's never going to happen, and it will eventually bankrupt us. We'll eventually go broke.
Oh, he's going too far now. Yeah, he's cutting education. You can't do that.
Oh, yes, we can, and oh, yes, we will. Come on, let's go. Here's the thing. I do want to educate.